What another big night in the NHL. Let's go ahead and take a look at the two Ottawa teams here tonight. We're going to break down the Senators, the Sabres. We're going to break down the Leafs and the Capitals. So stay tuned to the end of the video because we are going to go over all the highlights, all the goals. We are going to talk about the two exciting teams here from Canada. We are going to talk about the Sabres, a darling team there, and we're going to talk about the Washington Capitals, an ever-popular team here on this channel as well. And if you haven't seen your team yet, it's only game 2. Don't worry, we'll be cycling around the league and we'll pick up your team as things are going forward. So let's start with the Senators and the Sabres. This was a really cool game to watch and talk about because these are two young up-and-coming teams in the middle. One has just finished their rebuild and one is in the process of finishing their rebuild. The Buffalo Sabres are in the process. The Ottawa Senators have finished. The Buffalo Sabres would take this one tonight though 4-1, but don't let the score fool you. This was a 2-1 game. Tight all the way through. Barn burner, as they would call it. There may not be a lot of goals in this game, but it was an absolute treat to watch these two teams play, and I love seeing the young guys like this really contribute at the NHL level. 36 shots to 36 shots. That's how close this was. Taking a look at our home plate or our shot spread, we can see that Ottawa was the more dangerous team with chances. They had a lot more chances within that home plate area, but Buffalo capitalized on 2 thanks to Rasmus Dalin. Now, Corsi, very even. If shots are going to be even, it's usually the fact that Corsi's going to be close. Scoring chances were almost identical, 22-23. High danger chances favored the Senators, but Craig Anderson, welcome back to Ottawa. Craig Anderson. I know it's played in Buffalo. I get it. They were the home team, but the old Senators goalie there puts up another one. The guy avoids retirement, decides to come back. He's having a blast. He's having fun. We all love the story of Craig Anderson. Great goalie tonight. Anton Forsberg did great as well for the Senators with Cam Talbot injured and out. The expected goals for the game were 2.86 for the Sabres versus 2.43 for the Senators. That means on paper and in reality, the Sabres deserve to win. Both teams stunk on the power play, did great on the kill, not unsimilar to the Leafs last night, but it can take more than one game for power plays to get going. I've said this now in 2 videos in a row. Goals for the Sabres, Peterka from Cozens. We talked about this in our preview. Dylan Cozens, Peyton Krebs, Jack Quinn are going to have to really come along for this team to shine, and boy, did they. Rasmus Dalin gets the second goal. We said quietest 53 points we ever saw last year. One of the best skaters in the NHL right now as Rasmus Dalin puts that on full display from Krebs and newly minted captain Okposo, and then to empty nets at the end of that. Goals for the Senators come from Tkachuk, Batherson, and Brannstrom. Really cool to see Team Stützle playing up there with Batherson and Tkachuk. Josh Norris moves down to the second line with Claude Giroux and DeBrincat. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some of those highlights. Our puck ends up leaving the zone here, and we're taking a look at Rasmus Dalin. As Dalin's chasing this puck around, I want you to pay real close attention to Dalin's head. So right now he's puck watching, but take a quick look as we move this frame by frame. You're going to see him look back and shoulder check in this direction. Remember, we talk about feet, then head and eyes, then hands. So as he's skating, take a look. There it is. He's looking back. He gets us idea of time and space while keeping time and space, and that's why he ends up slowing down as he gets to the puck here. This is hyper skill. He's looking around again. So if you go back here, this is very key. Watch his head. Takes a quick shoulder check. Shoulder checks one more time. He is very aware that a Senator just came off the bench. Even though he's not looking at him, he can hear him. So as Dalin picks up that puck, he knows his idea of time and space. He picks it up. He sees where he's at, and this is just puck confidence from a young player like this. This is why he's 101. It's why I liked him so much in the league. Dalin just makes a quick little move here. He looks like he's going to hinge this puck D to D. That's what he's playing here. That's why you have your stick in the lane, and that's why this player is moving in that direction there. Now, all he's going to do is what we call a quick up. So instead of moving it, he's going to do a little J hook and head up the ice. This is something only highly skilled players are going to be able to do in a situation like this. No replacement for good skating and puck confidence in the NHL. You see the young defenseman there. His head doesn't go down for 1 second. You know we got to pause these videos because the NHL doesn't like it if it runs for more. But now he's got all the daylight in the world. And we talk about gap defenseman. You might wonder why he didn't move this up. Because you have gap, any of this distance that you see here between the first defender and you as a puck carrier, that's called gap. You do not want to give up your gap by moving the puck. You want to take gap and force these players to close it on you before you move the puck. So it isn't a greedy play to continue carrying the puck this way, and now we have a typical zone entry. This is just going to be a little bump out, and now someone needs to drive the mid lane. It can be a defenseman. It doesn't matter. We have 4 forwards in now, and I had a great question on the comment section there before. Sorry, we have 4 players, I should say, and a defenseman about to act as a forward here on this one. Defenseman, especially D1, which is what Rasmus Dalin is. Defenseman number 1, closest defenseman to the puck. He needs to activate and become a forward on these plays, and it's very common for your top defenseman to do this all day, every day on plays. And yes, you got to risk manage it because pucks can go in the back of your net on the transition game. So we see that bump out. He's going to drive the mid lane, and then we see our player in filling in high. And this is what I like about Dalin. Again, this play is all about Dalin. He ends up going to the net and he stays there. A lot of defensemen, or at least stay-at-home defensemen, would have backed out this way and come back up the ice to get back into position, but not offensively minded defensemen, and you don't want that as a coach or as a teammate. So as that puck ends up working down low here, Dalin continues to stay in front of the net. And this is where he gets so good. Even though he's a defender, he finds a way to separate himself. So he's now going to go ahead and take gap and move into this open area of the ice. Good offensive players always look for holes. There's the hole. It's right here. You don't want to stay engaged with your player if you can't help it. And unfortunately, the Ottawa Senators player here ends up puck watching. So he's watching the puck. He should be watching the man. That's not enough gap for somebody in front of the net. So this is a defensive zone breakdown now by Ottawa. What we want to end up seeing from Ottawa is we want to see one player on the puck. This is D1. We need to see Brady Tkachuk here as F1. He's pulling puck support. We've got D2 in front of the net, and you actually want to go ahead and have your skates pointed in a different direction here. Why? Because you need to take your man over this way. You're in a fine position over here, so I don't mind this D zone at all, but it is really cool how Dalin's going to get separate. And there's just so much going on in this play from a coach's perspective. You'll see Dalin there automatically takes the ice. And yeah, I mean, this is an okay play going ahead and separating it here, but you can't go there until your player goes ahead and picks up Dalin. Yes, there's 2 players, but now because Tkachuk is puck support, either Tkachuk's got to get over here to Dalin or Tkachuk's got to switch, which is a tougher play. You'd prefer they don't switch. You'd prefer that F1 remains F1 and moves over there. So I don't think Tkachuk got on his horse fast enough. I have to say he's too far back in the play here. So the captain's got to get moving a little bit quicker. He doesn't. It costs him, and they find that puck. It's just that little gap that I talked about. He really didn't have that much time and space. Going back to it again, he finds that little empty hole in the ice, and bang, it's in the back of the net. Final thing we want to talk about here on this goal is when it goes from south up to north here, this direction change, it's the hardest save for a goalie to make. Forsberg has no chance on this puck. And that's the only real key highlight for goals that we have for this game. For some reason, the first 2 goals just aren't showing up on the highlight reel, so it is what it is. But really, let's spend a lot of time breaking down that goal because there's a lot of things to talk about. There's how defensemen move pucks up the ice. There's how Dalin is shoulder checking. There's gap. There's why skating is good. There's zone entry. There's defensive zone breakdowns. There's high percentage scoring chances going from low to high. I'm telling you guys all day, every day, you can see a goal coming 2 or 3 or 4 plays in the opposite zone before it happens. This is a great picture of this. Both coaches are going to love breaking this down. Senators maybe a little bit less. So overall, my final thoughts for this game are pretty simple. I think both these teams look exciting. I have the Senators as the bubble team to break in. I thought Forsberg looked fine, but really it's quite exciting when it's one game and you're a Buffalo Sabres fan. It's been tough, and now you see all these young guys starting to pay off. You got to be pretty excited if you're a Sabres fan. I'm definitely cheering for them. I don't think this trend is going to hold, but hey, it's the NHL. We got 81 games left. Let's move over to the Leafs and the Capitals. 3-2 for the Leafs. Okay, now we're 1-1 for the Toronto Maple Leafs fans. Capitals fall to 0-2, unfortunately. Like we said for the Capitals, no Tom Wilson, no Nick Backstrom. That could end up hurting them. Aging veteran team. Yeah, they lost to an aging veteran team, the Bruins, but they also lost to the Leafs on back-to-backs. The Leafs woke up, though, 39 shots to 26. Taking a look at our home plate, look at the punishing Leafs hockey that we're used to. This is why they're a top team in scoring. Yep, funny they lost to Montreal. I was laughing, that's for sure. It's always funny when that happens. This is still a prime and premier team in the NHL. You can see it due to their offense. They only scored 3, while they should have scored 4.47. The Corsi actually ended up favoring the Capitals. Why? Because they put more shots towards the net than they got credit for. That's what Corsi measures, how many shots are put towards the net. The fun thing about this is the Leafs blocked 17 shots. That's really good defensive behavior. That's what you want to see if you're Sheldon Keefe and if you're a Leafs fan. 37 scoring chances for the Leafs, 27 only for the Capitals, 19 high danger chances. That's banana sandwich. That's unbelievable. That is god tier mode stuff from an NHL team. 19 is super high, only 8 for the Capitals. And again, because of that shot blocking and defensive prowess of the Leafs, that is really well done. Power play finally gets a goal. The Leafs started off slow last year. I told you they'd start off slow this year. I told you most teams are going to start off slow. 0-5 for the Capitals. So it is all about the penalty kill right now. Tavares continues to be hot, gets another goal tonight. Rielly gets 2. Rielly was an absolute stud there on the back end. Marner, Yarncrook, Kerfoot. Matthews gets in there again. Gio and Sandin end up getting in there. And then on the Capital side, it's Nic Dowd from Gustafsson and Trevor Van Riemsdyk. And then Johansson from Oshie and Eller. The Tavares goal is a beautiful goal here off the power play. You have 3 down low stacked up the middle on the Leafs power play. Everything looking good here from a Capitals point of view. You've got 4 guys set up in the diamond here. This is exactly what you want. You want to go ahead and leave all this distance here between the top because you got to protect the house. So really good job here by the Capitals. But the whole goal of a power play is to exploit by widening the zone and lengthening the zone. And that's exactly what the Leafs do better than anyone else in the NHL and have for the past 2 seasons. So you end up seeing them carry it wide. That's going to go ahead and that's going to separate and start to spread out this diamond here that you see from the Capitals. That's very key if you want to create holes and lanes to shoot and score in. So by going wide and moving it here up the boards, this is going to allow the team from Auston Matthews at the point to start setting up in what's called a 1-3-1. 1, 2, and then you've got 3 over here and 1. So these guys here on one plane, yep, don't worry, he's going to step in and find that plane, and then you have 1 in front of the net here. Typical power play setup, typical of the Leafs, typical of today's NHL. Nothing special there. But by widening and lengthening the zone, what you end up seeing is now that they can move it left to right and right to left, they can cross this Royal Road here a couple times. So you're going to see 1 pass to the left, 1 pass down low, and 2 passes across the Royal Road is a very high percentage chance to score. That's why power plays are so favorable. And you've gone ahead and you've spread out the diamond here. The only thing you want to see here from the Capitals, nothing. They've done everything you need to do. Stick is in the lane. You have your guy tied up. You're in the right spot here to block. I don't really see anything wrong here by the Capitals. This is just the Leafs outplaying them. So as they move it over to Morgan Rielly is going to find John Tavares. And that is why the Royal Road is so important. You cannot move 2 times 180 degrees as a goalie without being absolutely lucky in that moment. Great goal. You don't got to be the Leafs to widen the zone, and it doesn't have to be a power play to widen the zone. It works 5-on-5 as well too. You'll see a quick pass down here, a quick pass down low, and then 1 more pass across the Royal Road in order to put in the Nic Dowd goal. That Royal Road comes into play so many different times here. So as we move the puck from the right side over to the left side, this is forcing the Leafs to shift in their D zone. When you're forcing them to shift in your D zone, you see something very unique here. This doesn't happen all the time. You actually have 3 up top now. So I love how he ends up coming in up top. And that causes a lot of confusion because now you've outnumbered them on the top. If you're the Capitals, you have a 3-on-2 up top as opposed to a 3-on-2 down below. And that 3-on-2 allows you to make that little bump out for space. When you make that little bump out for space, you are now forcing all 3 Maple Leafs to come here on the top. And now you have confusion here by some players. That is going to create gap and allow you to make that pass down low and below. I love seeing 3 guys up high, up top in the zone. It's a great way way to score goals. I don't think it happens enough in today's NHL. Now you carry it down low, and by playing 3 up top, we can count it. Take a look here. Now you have a 4-on-3 down low, or you have a 3-on-2 if you want to count it as that. Either way, you got odd numbers for split seconds here down low. They end up penetrating in. The Leafs are caught with all 3 guys that were up high trying to get back. They can't do it, and you're going to see a pass go across the Royal Road. And once it's across the Royal Road, you can't ask Samsonov to make any more effort than what he did. It trickles in. Dowd gets the goal, 1-1. You know, I'm not becoming a huge fan here of Calle Järnkrok. I didn't like him when he was over with the Caps. I didn't really like him with Seattle, and I'm not sure if I'm liking him in here. I like the potential that I see. Sure, he gets a goal, but there's a little bit of a puck fumble here. Sure, it's an errant puck. Sure, it's up high, but we practice this all the time, all day, every day to be able to put these down. Ends up kicking it out, and then what's worse is he takes the wrong direction on a pivot. So he makes a quick little J-hook this way. You got to be thinking defense when you lose that puck, and you should be skating backwards to defend that play there. But regardless, this goal is still going to be on Samsonov. It's not the hottest goal here. The Capitals win a 2-on-1 there in the corner, and you don't want to give up 2-on-1s. That's not the key. You got to win those 2-on-1s when you're up. Quick little pinch here by TJ Brodie. Not a big deal. He gets stepped on, but we have way too much gap here from Mitch Marner. So once again, from Mitch Marner, Morgan Rielly, the guy playing defense, we have way too much gap. He actually backed into the zone way too early. He didn't need to, and he didn't need to because he has numbers. You can see that he has numbers. He actually outnumbers them 3-1 or even 4-2 at this point in time. This angle, sure, it's at the top of the circle, but you got to have this one if you're Samsonov. Like, yep, a couple guys have asked me questions. Why do you put sticks in the middle here? You should always put a stick in the middle. Sure, you could go ahead and tip a puck, but that old Don Cherry aspect of get the stick out of the way, the stick's going to block it just as many times as it's going to tip it into the net. It's actually going to go more in favor for the defender, so I don't mind sticking the lane here. He ends up getting a piece of it. It's not a great goal. It just trickles in, so Johansson ends up scoring. Turnover by Järnkrok. A little bit of bad gap by Rielly. Great one-on-one individual effort by the Capitals and Johansson, but really, I'm talking a lot about the Leafs because that shouldn't have been a goal, but that's the way hockey goes. Great play here by Morgan Rielly. Don't you remember when I said that you want to go ahead and take that gap? So you'd be sitting here going, in this video, coach, you said take gap, take gap, take gap. Well, guess what? He doesn't need to take gap here. He can and he should, but because his head's up, as you can see, Morgan Rielly is going to identify one key difference on this play. As that puck ends up moving up, that difference on the play is that the forward at the blue line isn't being checked. So you can see this when you're a good defenseman with heads up play here. Normally, you would actually have a defender that would be somewhere by here clogging up the middle, and that would force Morgan Rielly to carry it up the middle, get somewhere by the boards here, and probably likely have to dump it in. But bad positioning here by the Capitals allows them to stretch the ice for 2 lines, almost 3 lines. They end up staying on side, and now all it is a simple zone entry. Pierre Engvall is going to end up driving the middle. Calle Järnkrok's going to end up driving wide. These are all simple practice techniques from the age of 8 onwards. No big deal. Go to the net. You'll find good things. It's 3-on-3. Couple little tips. Fill through the zone. Past that Royal Road down the middle. It still applies. It always applies. There it is. So many goals end up scoring. You cross that, it's going to go in the net. Beautiful play there. Not much you can ask from Lindgren there. Gets a little bit of a skate in the face, and that goal ties this game up. All right, face-off theory. One of the best ways to score goals on the power play are right off the face-off. Leafs versus Caps. You know what I really love about this? That the Washington Capitals put it even on the wall. Sometimes you have your defender down here so he can boot out quicker, and you leave what's called a naked wall. I don't like that at all when NHL teams do it, because it is very easy to just slap the puck over to that errant wall and make sure that your player, Mitch Marner in this instance, ends up picking it up. Mitch Marner is a right-handed shot on the left wall. I like this. Why wouldn't you put your best puck hound on the wall? You can see Auston Matthews is going to move that puck left to right because he's a lefty. So this is the easiest way for him to win a draw. This is what's called his strong side. Lefty on left is strong side. Marner's on his off wing. No big deal because he can walk in and get a quick shot if he's able to pick up that puck, or he's just your best puck hound on this team, bar none, no doubt. All he's going to do is reverse this back to Gio on the wall, and this is why those 50-50 battles are so important. He ends up losing it, which is unfortunate, but at least the Capitals gave themselves a chance to win that battle by lining up properly on the faceoff. All that's going to end up happening here is we're going to move the puck up to the top, and as we move the puck up to the top, you know what I'm going to talk about. We're going to talk about the Royal Road again, because that's just all the goals seem to be today. They're going to cross that road twice with defenders going D to D, and that is going to cause trouble for a goalie. When that puck is up top, you can see it is tough for Lindgren to track it, and now at this point in time, he's sitting in his net going, boys, can't see the puck. There's a screen in my way. There's another high screen up in the way. These guys aren't technically in the way, but could end up getting in the way. No matter what, it's congestion for him to have to see this puck. He's looking for it. You can see that little head motion that he made here. He's getting tall. He's standing up in his V lookup. He's trying to find that puck through 4 players. Pretty tough to do. And when you end up moving it back to the D partner here at this point, he doesn't really have a great opportunity to move over and get set. He gets set enough, I would say, but that puck that ends up going on net, I don't think he was truly ready for it. It's unfortunate. There's really no excuse. It's one that's up by his ear here that he can't catch, and it ends up trickling in behind him. So yes, you can and should have this all day, every day, but there was a lot going on there. And those two back and forth high on the wall with the screen, that causes all kinds of problems for the goalie going over the Royal Road. So that's that. There's your highlights for the day. Thanks for being here, guys. Ottawa, Buffalo, Washington. Love having you all here on this channel. Subscribe. Join down below. Discord is there. If you've made it this long and you're not subscribed, you're being banana sandwich. Just hit the free subscribe button. Be a part of the team. Be a part of the coach's staff down below by saying join. Thanks to all our members out there on the coach's staff. We'll catch you this weekend for more hockey content.